everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Emma, and if you're not new here, it is finally time for me to do another TBR jar picks my reads video. I haven't done one of these in so long and I miss filming these so much. I do think I went through a time where I got a little bit burnt out by these videos because once I had a set TBR, I felt like I had to stick to that and not stray away. But I've made it a goal of mine to mood read more in 2026 and kind of just pick up books that seem interesting to me at that moment to help keep myself from getting in a reading slump. So while I am going to be starting these videos back up, this is going to be more of a loose TBR. If you guys don't know how the TBR jar works, or it's technically a bag, if you don't know how the TBR bag works, this bag is filled with tons of different prompts. I will draw however many of them and then let those prompts dictate what book I'm going to be reading for the month. But before we start drawing prompts, I do want to mention 3 books that I have preset on my TBR. 2 of these are books that I meant to get to in January, didn't get to, but I'm super excited to read, so I'm carrying them over to February. And then 1 is just something that I feel like is so fitting for February, so I knew I wanted to stick it on this TBR list. First off, we have Mile High by Liz Tomford. This is the first book in the Windy City series. This is on my 26 books I want to read in 2026 list, and I was hoping to get to it in January, but unfortunately did not. This is a sports romance interconnected standalone series that I've heard nothing but amazing things about, and I cannot wait to read it. Next up is Woman Down by Colleen Hoover. This is her newest release that's also a thriller. The publishing company was kind enough to send me a copy of it, and I meant to start reading it as soon as I had my hands on it and just ended up getting carried away with other books I was reading in January, so it's a goal to get to it in February. And then lastly, we have the Improbable Meet Cute series, which is a collection of short stories written by some of the most popular romance authors, and I believe they're all centered around Valentine's Day, which is why I wanted to read them in February. I could be totally off about the Valentine's Day part, but given that they are short, cute, sweet romances by a lot of romance authors that I love, there's still no better time to get to those than this month, and I have a feeling I'm gonna fly through them anyway. So those are my 3 non-negotiables. They were going on the TBR no matter what, but I am gonna pick 5 prompts to help me determine which other books I'm gonna add to the TBR for February 2026. Since it's been a while, I know this bag needs a really good shake before I start drawing anything. Okay, I feel like that's good enough. The first prompt is a book I own the ARC copy of. So if you guys don't know, an ARC copy stands for an advanced reader's copy. This is usually early releases of books that are coming out. I feel so honored and grateful to be on the list for multiple different publishers and authors who are constantly sending me so many exciting advanced reader's copies. If I could get to all of them the second I get my hands on them, I totally would, but unfortunately, that's just not possible. So this prompt is going to push me to read one that's been sitting on my shelves, and I genuinely have been dying to get to all of them, so I'm very glad that I drew this prompt. Prompt number 2 is a book that's less than 300 pages. This might be kind of hard to find, but I really love this prompt because I love me a good short book that I can fly through. I'm feeling like this will probably end up being a romance or a thriller because most fantasies are not under 300 pages. Prompt number 3 is a mythology or fairy tale retelling. This is really exciting. I have so many fantasy books and fantasy romance books on my shelves that I need to get to desperately, and I do think I have a few that would fit this prompt, so we'll have to pull some good options for this. Our 4th prompt is, oh, I grabbed a few. Our 4th prompt is a book with a morally gray main character or love interest. I know I have tons of these. This should be very easy to find. And our 5th and final prompt is an abbreviated author name. So essentially this would be like B.K. Borison, for example. So abbreviated initials with a last name. There's actually a lot of authors that do this, so hopefully I'll have some good options to choose from. I'm gonna go pull all the options for these prompts and come back and we can decide together. I'm back from drawing options and I have them all laid out on the floor here. The only one I have struggled with finding something for is the less than 300 pages prompt. I have multiple that are right over 300 pages, and funny enough, some of those short stories I'm already planning on reading this month are going to be under 300 pages, so they would technically fit for this prompt, but I feel like that's cheating, so I am going to put this one back and redraw another prompt really quick. Instead of less than 300 pages, we have an audiobook, which is really great because I've been in my audiobook era lately. They're literally my saving grace. I've made lots of videos lately about audiobooks on my TikTok page. It'll be linked below if you guys want to check out those videos, but audiobooks have become my best friend, so I am very, very happy with this prompt. Let me see what I have on here to see if there's anything that's piquing my interest. Okay, I found a few that will work for this prompt, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start with this one since I have it pulled up. Two books that I have downloaded on Audible because they're free on Audible right now are Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. I don't know much about this other than I believe it's a fantasy, maybe a little bit dystopian. I feel like I saw it getting talked about on Book Talk a lot back in like 2023 and never purchased it, never really looked that much into it until I saw it on Audible, and like I said, it was free, so that definitely piqued my interest, having a free book. So I have it in my Audible library. I haven't started it yet, and I don't own the physical copy, but I'm interested to maybe listen to it and see what I think and potentially continue on in the series. And the other one I have in my Audible library right now is Consider Me by Becca Mack. This is another one that I do not own and really don't know much about, but I believe it's a sports romance. It's definitely romance. I could be wrong about the sports part, but I feel like this is one that recently I've been seeing some buzz around, and I saw it was on here available to listen for free, so I added it to my library because I'm intrigued, and I don't know, who doesn't love a good romance audiobook? I feel like between these two, I am leaning towards Consider Me by Becca Mack, just because looking at my piles on the ground right here for the other prompts, there's a lot of fantasy, so I don't necessarily want to add another fantasy and then be overwhelmed by that genre this month, and I feel like it would be good to throw another romance in there, so we're gonna do Consider Me by Becca Mack. Like I said, I really do not know anything about it, but it's going on the February TBR. The next prompt I'm going to be choosing for is a book with a morally gray main character or love interest, and I have two options for us to choose from, although I'm sure a lot of the books that I'm going to be talking about for the other prompts here soon would also apply to this, but these are just two that were on my shelves and stood out to me because I know without a doubt that they have a morally gray love interest and potentially also main character. Our first option is A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. I've owned this for almost a year now and picked it up at the bookstore because I've been hearing amazing things about it. It's fantasy romance. It sounds like it's right up my alley. It's enemies to lovers. I've heard that the tension in this is fantastic, and I've been very intrigued to get to it, and I think it's been on my TBR before, but I've never picked it up. And I do believe this one is either like an arranged marriage, or maybe she gets like stolen by an evil king or something, so everything about that is screaming morally gray love interest to me, so obviously it works for this prompt. And then our next option is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This is actually on my list of 26 books I want to read in 2026. It was also on my list of 25 books I wanted to read in 2025, and I unfortunately did not get around to reading it. So because of that, I want to lean more towards this one. However, part of me really wants to save this book for the autumn spooky season time because it just feels so fitting for that time of year. But that's what I was planning on doing last year and I never got around to reading it. So no time like the present. Maybe I should go with this one. I don't know. I'm really, really torn. I think I'm going to go with A Dawn of Onyx. Even though my brain is telling me I should go with Phantasma, but my heart is telling me I should go with The Dawn of Onyx. So that's what we're doing. A Dawn of Onyx is getting added to the TBR. Our next prompt was a mythology or fairy tale retelling, and I have so many of these that if I actually pulled every option off my shelves, this video would be an hour long. So instead, I've just pulled 4 that I know fit this prompt that are intriguing to me at this given moment in time. The first one is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This one fits the prompt because it is based on Norse mythology, which I've read a few other Norse mythology inspired books. I have read a series by this author before that I highly enjoyed, and this one I believe is an adult fantasy romance. I feel like I'd really love it. It's been sitting on my shelves for quite a while, so this one's definitely an option. We also have Fallen Gods by Rachel Van Dyken. This one is an art copy, so it could technically work for one of the other prompts, but I've included it in this one because this, I believe, is Greek mythology. It's also a fantasy romance, probably enemies to lovers, and I remember when I read the description on the back of this, I was so intrigued by it. So even before I get to the other two books, I am leaning a little bit more towards this one for this prompt, but again, it could also work for another prompt. The next option is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This one fits the prompt because the entire world of this is based on different folk tales, which I think is really interesting. I've also owned this book for a really, really long time without reading it. This same author wrote Divine Rivals, which is like one of my favorite fantasy romances ever, but I've heard that this one's a little bit different, so I think maybe I've been hesitant to get to it because there are also a lot of mixed opinions about it, but this one's definitely a contender and I do need a reason to pick this one up. And last for this prompt, we have another mythology retelling, and that is the game's God's Play by Abigail Owen. I feel like about a year ago, maybe, this one was getting a lot of hype on Book Talk, and I really don't know why I never got around to it, but this is definitely inspired by Greek mythology. The first line on the back of it says, "I have never been favored by the gods, far from it, thanks to Zeus." So this is a very obvious pick for this prompt. I just don't know. I don't know. To me, these are making me super torn because they're all fantasy romance, which I love. I just don't know which one of these seems the most intriguing to me right now. I'm just gonna go with my gut, which is the book I was the most excited about before really even considering these, and that is Fallen Gods by Rachel Van Dyken. I just feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice if I let this sit on my shelves for too much longer because I was so intrigued upon initially reading the blurb on the back. I am super excited about this one. I feel like I will definitely get to it, but hopefully I get to these other three at some point soon. The next prompt was an abbreviated author name, and I honestly didn't look that hard for these books. I kind of just grabbed the ones that automatically stuck out to me. I'm sure I have more abbreviated authors, but these are the four that I found first. Starting off, we have Carousel by T.C. Elofsson. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe I actually got sent this by the author a few years back. It's independently published, and I want to say there's something about the main character being able to manipulate people's minds or emotions. I could be totally off with that, but this one's been sitting on my shelves for a while, and sadly, I had honestly forgotten about it, so I'm glad that this prompt at least brought it to my attention so this one can be on my radar a little bit more. I know that this is fantasy. I'm not sure if it's YA or adult, and I'm not sure if it's a romance as well, but can we take a minute for how stunning that cover art is? The next option is The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. I got sent this as an advanced reading copy a while back, and I do know this is fantasy romance, enemies to lovers. This is just another one of those enemies to lovers that I know I would love and for some reason haven't picked up, and that's really all I have to say about it. It does fit this prompt. This one's been intriguing me for a while, and for whatever reason, I have just yet to start it. Next option is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I have read another book by V.E. Schwab, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I read that very early on in my reading journey and absolutely loved it, and have yet to read any other V.E. Schwab since then, but thankfully this was an option for my Book of the Month box pick, and I'm very intrigued by this one. Reading about this book makes me super excited to get to it. It sounds like it's fantasy, but also a little mix of mystery, and I love V.E. Schwab's writing, so I feel like maybe this is a sign that I should pick this one. And then our last option is Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. This is a newer book that I've added to my collection. It's also a Book of the Month box pick, and look at the beautiful sprayed edges. I'm literally obsessed. I don't know much about this other than when I saw it on Book of the Month, I chose it because it's fantasy romance and it had pretty sprayed edges, so maybe I should just go in blind to it. Between these four, I think I'm the most drawn towards The Wren in the Holly Library, simply because I have thought about wanting to read this one more than I have thought about wanting to read these other three, although these three do all very much intrigue me and I'm excited to get to them, but I feel like it just feels right to go with this one because it's been on my radar the most. So we're gonna go with this one. Maybe these will make it on next month's TBR. And the last prompt was a book you own as an ARC copy, and I purposefully did not draw additional books for this prompt because so many of the books I drew for the other prompts were also books I've received as ARC copies. So I thought to myself, surely I will have 1 or 2 or however many left over from the other prompts that I did not draw that also fit this prompt, if that makes sense. And I was just gonna let that choose for me. I initially thought there might be multiple I would have to choose from, but this is kind of perfect because there was only 1 left from the options that I did not choose that is also an ARC copy, and that is The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. So this is an easy decision. I don't even have to think about this. It fits the prompt. It's going on the TBR. So to quickly recap the books that are going on my February TBR that the TBR prompts chose for me, we do have my audiobook of Consider Me that is going on the TBR. The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. This is a fantasy romance. Not sure if it's YA or adult. The Wren and the Holly Library by K.A. Lindy. This is fantasy romance. Again, not sure if it's YA or adult. Fallen Gods by Rachel Van Dyken. Again, fantasy romance. Not sure if it's YA or adult. And then A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. This is fantasy romance, and I'm pretty sure this is either new adult or adult. So we have a very fantasy romance stacked month, but it's perfect because the other books that I had pre-chosen to be on my February TBR are not fantasy romance, so I can switch it up and give myself palette cleansers in between. But all in all, the thing I think I'm most excited about for this TBR list is the fact that 3 of these books are advanced readers copies that I've been sent by the publishers and have been meaning to get to for so long. So things like this is why I love doing the prompts so much, because it forces me to pick up books that I might not have otherwise. And while I have been super excited about these books, it's just like I would never have decided on my own to read all 3 of these in the same month. And now they're on my immediate radar on the immediate TBR, and hopefully I do get to all of them. And that is it for the February reading wrap up. Let me know in the comments if you guys have read any of these books and what you thought of them without spoilers. And also let me know what you guys are planning to get to in the month of February. As always, I will have my Instagram, TikTok, and Goodreads linked in the description below if you'd be interested in following me over there, checking out my other platforms and other content, or if you want to see more videos right now, you can always head over to this channel and see all the videos I have posted currently. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. That's all for now. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye guys.